Special projects we have to make sure that these vehicles, the ones that were shown, are safe. That's why we're not having people touch them. But what you should notice with all the details is it is production intent with what we did, what we want people to think. It's not a concept car. It's very much what we expect to build in normal, deliver in the first half of 2026, which is what y'all are excited about, right?
Yes.
Quick one more show of hands. Who owns a Rivian right now? Sweet. All right. More T's or S's? T's. S's. All right, T's win. Good. I will ask a bunch of questions on that, but if you have any questions, myself, Austin, Kenneth, Christine, we can show you stuff on the car. Please remember, just hands off. We're going to start at the front. Who thinks this looks like an R1S? Is that a good or bad thing?
Good.
It's a good thing, right? Taking the R1, the essence of what made the R1S so special, the 7-passenger SUV, making it smaller, more efficient, making it a little bit sleeker, more modern. You can see the headlight, the iconic Rivian headlight design, a little bit tighter. It's a lot more functionality too. We'll debut more of that as we get closer to production. But I'll have Austin here open the hood. You can see it if you didn't earlier. It is the same front storage, not as long of a front overhang, a little bit smaller of a front bin, but similar level of control. So through the UI, if you're asking me, hey, I read the specs about the cameras and the sensors, where are they? On this car, we don't have a lot of that deployed on the front end, but we do have lockable watertight storage, just like we have in the R1 products that many of you with hands up own. If you want to come around here, wheels and tires, still big, very much present for the vehicle. A lot of off-road capability, a lot of on-road capability. Not the same complex air suspension that gives you all of that ride height adjustment in the R1 mechanical system. Part of the drive behind this is making sure we hit the price point. Who knows what this starts at? 45. Great. You guys do my job for me. It's great. Now, so in order to deliver that, there is stuff where you have to make really informed decisions based on what we've asked for from our customers, what we've heard from. And speaking of things we've heard from, when we open the door here, I'll show you. We have glove boxes. How many glove boxes?
2.
You guys are fun. It's like an elementary school classroom I'm asking. So everything we come around here, you can see the coolest thing on the interior. Again, it's going to feel like a Rivian, premium materials, spaces you want to touch, giant storage. I don't know if anybody has a big water bottle that we can put in here, but it's pretty impressive how much you can fit with the speakers moved into the center console. The haptic feedback on the scroll wheels here, if you're like, I'm not sure what haptic feedback is, it's when you push a button, it doesn't actually press, but it really feels like it. It's great for response. You can adjust it between volume or drive modes. And what's cool isn't showing what we're doing, it's the opportunity to do stuff with the over-the-air updates, with software, with more features that come out with very simple, really well done mechanical integration. Underneath the center console, plenty of storage in the drawer. Cup holders, same spot as the R1, storage here, and then to show everybody what we added in based on what everyone wanted, not just one glove box, but a second one. You can hold a laptop in there, integrated in the IP. Otherwise, as you can see, it is a 5-passenger vehicle. We have one of the seats folded flat. The second row is a 40-40-20, so they can fold down independently. Again, cup holders in the center. And actually, for anybody that spent a lot of time in the back of an R1S, because there is no third row, you do have more, it's called couple distance, front row to second row. There is more space, so more leg room in the second row in this vehicle.
Nice.
Legroom is nice because you fit people in, you have space, it's airy, there's a huge glass roof. Very similar ports for crossbars up top. Sitting with that airy theme, if we come around back, you'll notice not only do we have a lift gate that we can open up, but we can also drop. So if you think about those times where something is just a little bit too long, or the times where you're hanging out outside your car, like we happen to be with a bunch of friends, and you want to just be able to set your drink on a shelf inside the car. You can put stuff in when you're laying the seats down and car camping, but a little bit more usefulness in the drop of the glass lift gate. Side glasses also vent to get some airflow through the vehicle. Same power, but all of this into a really, really nice compact package that we're excited about. And for anyone that's like, I saw the sign and I got the invite, yeah, go ahead. So Austin will show you from the space that is back here. Does come with optional spare tire. Don't ask me how we fit that in. I can't give you those secrets. This one doesn't have the spare on it. And the same idea with the optional hitch package. But the best part about this is electric Rivian, more accessible pricing, built-in normal where you can extend the factory to make something for more customers and bring more people into the umbrella. And for anyone who hasn't heard yet, my mom beat me to it. I was a little bit upset. But my proudest day at Rivian was when my mom said she's buying a Rivian, so that was pretty cool for me. If you have any questions on anything, please ask people that are around here. We're happy to answer questions, show you stuff. I'll show you one more really cool thing. You can see it through the back here or from the sides. I talked about camping, laying in the vehicle. If you've never car camped in an EV, you can just set the temperature. There's no engine running. It's a really nice experience, unless you have whiny kids, and then you can put them on a tent on the roof. But you can check out the screen from there. There's a really cool ability to go to the dark. So now you have a screen it's showing, but similar to your phone, something that's not going to give you all of the color spectrum, not going to hurt your eyes. You can still have information and not be night blinded.
Can you drive in that night?
That is where it is on this vehicle. So this is where the charger is. This one is designed with the NACS charger native in the product. It is really nice here for curbside charging. Anybody that doesn't own a home, parks on the side by the sidewalk and needs to plug into the building, it's great. It's really great for global product, European and everything. It doesn't fit with some of the existing infrastructure. We are actively debating what is the best trade-off. We could give you a charge port everywhere. You just want to pay for it and we want to build it. That's representing the discussion. Just in terms of where the current So for anybody that was here with the R1 products when we came to the New York Auto Show back in 2019, that's where we started actually, was the passenger front. But for most driver scenarios, parking in your own garage and getting access to it, we decided it was a better scenario up front. No matter where we put it, somebody will be upset. I will admit that right now. For that person, those people, I'll apologize. My name's Brian, you can call me and complain, but it's still the coolest vehicle it's going to be. Other questions from anybody?
Does the rear passenger window go
All the way down. So part of the design of this, when you think about how do you take cost out, how do you get to that bill of materials cost that allows you to build this, if you look at the R1S back door, there's a division bar between the fixed glass that's dark and the drop window. What we did is we actually designed everything from the cut line to the wheelhouses, pillars just wide enough that the glass will go all the way to the door without an additional part. The other cool thing is the turn signal is no longer in your main beam, it's down below. So when the turn signals are on this, your main beam doesn't dim. You gotta keep that really bright light the whole time. So a lot of other little changes like that, and we're excited to share more content with those of you.
Of R2, but I also do exterior design for Rivian, worked on R3, R3X too, so I've sketched on it all, but the interior of this is my baby, so I can definitely, speak to that very specifically, but I'll give you a walk around of all the design elements. If I get too nerdy at times, just tell me to stop, or if you have more questions, please, shout them out. This is Kenneth. He's on the special projects team, manager, right?
Manager on the special projects team. We kind of help to bring a lot of the studio vision to life, combining the engineering with the design vision and bringing something that is this real to all of you.
Yeah, so we sketch the car, build it in clay, bunch of CAD work, the clay models you usually see, all that fun stuff, but where we leave off is where their team picks up and actually helps make this a reality that we can drive and sit in and present it to you today. So yeah, that's where we're at. Obviously, this is R2. Let's talk proportional differences. We all know it's smaller than R1, but what did we do to make it look and feel that way? We're blessed with front-end iconography. Our lamps are very controversial for some, but we love them because you know a Rivian immediately when you see it coming down the road from a mile away. And everyone's like tired of the same automotive stuff over and over and over again. So this is really where we have our fun. This is our, our brand, our DNA. But this allows us to stretch the brand in a bunch of different ways. R2 to R3. So your R2, like our theme is like very much so like an exercise in restraint. We knew we wanted to scale down what we delivered in R1S, make it more attainable, a little more livable, affordable, but maintain all the good brand that we've built with R1. With R3, then you really see the brand at play, right? But that's a testament to what this front end does. Is like you can change the proportion of the vehicle, size, graphics, but we stick with this front end, and a Rivian when it's coming down the road. Proportionally, the lamps got a lot leaner. The pill shapes are stadium lamps that we call them. These also got squattier and wider compared to R1. And so there's just the size, like R1 is a full-size truck, full-size SUV. It's taller by nature, so a lot of what we do thematically in surfacing and how we draw lines around the vehicle make R1 feel big, and it is big, and we kind of inverse that for R2 to help it feel even smaller and squattier. So if you look over here, this is a perfect example on R1. This is an R1T, but the front clip's the same for R1T and S. So you can see where the hood or front positioning is on top, conventional car, and then the proportion from like wheel liner to that stack up here, so you're tall and then small in the hood. On R2, we actually inverse that. So we have a clamshell hood, and you see that hood shut line comes off the headlamp now, and then the proportion is flipped. So from wheel liner to that hood shut line is smaller, and then we're taller away. So all that pushes the visual weight down. And now instead of like that high line becoming the main theme for the body, now it's this low line. So this line, which is it's a functional line for the front, but then this sets up the whole body set. So this tracks the whole way back. And we have this very machined feeling piece of mass in the middle, whereas on R1, that's taller and more full surface. So a lot of fun play with reflections on R1. On R2, we wanted it to feel like this thing was built out of a solid piece of metal. Like really refined, really scaled down a vehicle, but also still make it feel like premium and expensive at the same time by really giving that more machine looking feel. So that's where it sets up, where this band, it's more flat and sheer in nature than R1, but that's how we sort of get that feel. So it keeps your eyes down. The vehicle wears its weight lower, but then also kind of creates a premium feel in this like machined metal sort of look. Versus the fuller surfacing, a little bit more joyful surfacing on R1. It's a bigger, imposing vehicle, and that's by design, right? If we were to maybe apply the same surfacing to R1, it would probably have a completely different feel. Maybe a little bit out of step with the brand because the size of the vehicle is so big. If you take the same type of sheer surfacing on R1, maybe it becomes a bit more aggressive than what we would want. But again, on R2, it's inherently a little bit more joyful by the very proportion of it, so we can play around with surfacing a lot more on R2, more precise in nature. Kenneth, do you want to speak to some?
And I think, I learned a lot listening to Andrew talking about this car. I think there's a very, very high compliment of people saying that it looks a lot like the R1S, and then hearing a lot about a little bit of detail of what is actually different. And there's, the sort of more urban focus of the R2 versus the sort of more off-road adventure focus of the R1. And it's really interesting how we can do that with visual design that also goes along with a lot of the engineering. Like the reason for the clamshell hood is actually a lot tied to like pedestrian protection in order to bring this vehicle to Europe and make it a truly global car. Some of it has to do with improved battery technology where we can actually make the battery more compact, which changes some of the need for how the styling disguises like the height of the vehicle because of the way that EVs are laid out compared to how traditional gas cars are. And having all of that engineering really integrated with the design and spending a lot of time with these teams, pushing and pulling on each other, gets us a really, really nice, design package that's still beautiful. It serves the purpose that it's really meant to serve with a lot more optimization than we were able to get into R1 when we had a much smaller team and a much more aggressive target to just get to market. So I think, as Rivian kind of grows up, these stories are a lot more detailed and interesting of how we get to the shapes and the engineering underneath these vehicles.
Do you have anything else for exterior? You want to go inside?
Yeah, let's go outside.
All right. So if you want to, I know it's tight, but yeah, I'll try to walk through as best we can, and then I'll speak to stuff now and digest it as you're still walking around the vehicle later on. So similar to the exterior, we talked about like scaling down the vehicle. It's the same story inside. On R1, there's that wood decorative piece that tracks the whole way around the IP, meaning instrument panel or dash, some people call it. The displays are larger as well, taller. So for R2, we leaned everything out. We used the wood very decidedly in a more linear element. And that's very mid-century modern furniture inspired. Like we love our Eames chairs at Rivian. So that sort of float and the way it sculpts around the center display is sort of like an homage to like classic American mid-century modern design. And again, just on the lower part, this visually, this is like coast-to-coast design. So it like stretches the visual width from full left to full right side of the vehicle. Again, whereas on R1, it's taller, it's a more encompassing shape. So graphically, that feels bigger, feels more like a full-size SUV and truck. We're mid-size now, we want to really stretch the width of R2, make it feel like this wider space. That also makes it feel more open in a smaller footprint vehicle. So I mentioned the displays. This is a lot leaner of a display of the driver display compared to R1. Same with the center display, also got wider aspect ratio, but those are the main points of control for the vehicle. That's like our central intelligence, right? Like that's where you do all your operating from. So we still really wanted to celebrate that center display. It is fully pass-through behind it. You can take a look, you can put your hand back there. So it's not nested like it is in R1. It's completely open, like air gaps behind the display. So that's cool, kind of, creates like an airiness as well too. In general, when we like Rivian design, especially for interiors, like try to rethink like automotive design, and I think everyone's used to like in cars, like everything is very like metal and like black plastics and buttons and stuff. But if you ask most people like, hey, what's your most comfortable place? It's like, well, at home in my living room, like with my family and like just chilling like on the couch watching TV or something. It's like, but why then in cars is it all like plastic and metal and like stuff that you would never really have in your life otherwise? Like you wouldn't go to like West Elm and be like, yeah, give me all the black plastic and metal you have. Like that's just not the case. So for Rivian interior design, like we really try to like flip the auto industry on its head and think like, how can we design an interior more like your home? Like how can we make it more comfortable? Use recessed lighting in places. So again, and the vent technology is super cool too. I'll explain that in a second. But in general, that's our sort of ethos for how we design is like, how can we create a more comfortable, like more calming space, like a place you really want to spend some time and not like just be surrounded by the normal automotive, finishes and stuff. So I think that's sort of what sets our interior design apart maybe from most. It's a space that you want to be more than just driving. It's a more comfortable space. Speaking of the air vent, so yeah, that was again, much like home. Typically you don't like celebrate like having like a fan or like a heat register like blowing on you in your living room, right? So same here, we sort of want that to go away. It's almost like an ambient air thing. Of course it's not, but it's super cool. This is full ready for production. So this vent is actually split into two and it runs the full length of the car. And how it works is there's a slot on the top and a slot on the bottom, and there's two streams of air coming out top and bottom. So what happens is at a point in space, those two streams of air intersect, and that's how we direct the air. So if on the screen you select you want it to hit like your lap, those two streams of air hit, and then we overpower the top one, and that points the air stream down. And then same if you want to point it at your face, we overpower the lower stream, and so those two streams of air hit, and then it pushes the air up. So we're able to use powering the air in different ways to like direct air around the cabin. So it's on R1, you'll see the vents are a lot more noticeable left and right side, and then there's that center one that's underneath the main display. So we're able to keep all the air venting just to like this single like slit. So again, a lot more clean, a lot more like just accentuates the design instead of making like a whole meal out of the vents. Like a little bit more integrated here. We're really proud of that. On the doors, we're able to, some innovation here. We eliminated the typical 6x9 speakers in the doors, so you can fit a full Nalgene bottle in here. We have our expanding map pocket, so additional storage there. But we didn't just like throw them away. We actually relocated the speakers to the center console. They're down by the accelerator pedals, so there's sort of like a mid-woofer design down there where it's two speakers that point outward on either side of the console. So you'll still have awesome audio quality in R2, and then there's coaxial speakers in the A-pillars and in the front of the IP underneath the mesh there. So audio quality is still going to be top-notch in R2 as well. And then finally, from my end, going to get into it as well, the steering wheel was like a labor a big labor of love. When I started at Rivian, it was just over 2 years ago, and we started sketching on R2 like a week after I started. So it was like, come in, here's your desk, and then like drinking from the fire hose, like first day. Like it was absolutely insane. And so like RJ gave us like the brief in the studio with Jeff, our chief design officer. And he's like, we got 2 things for you. It's got to have 2 glove boxes, and there's this awesome new steering wheel technology we've been working on. We've got to get this integrated somehow. And they had a working prototype of these rollers, and they're super cool. There's haptic motors in there that allow those rollers to feel different depending on what menu you're in. So different clicks, different pushes, and you can work your way the whole way through the car's HMI, like through these rollers. Eventually, we haven't tested this yet because we don't have the vehicle out yet, but we believe that like in about a month of like ownership, you'll be able to feel exactly where you are in the car's interface just by feeling the rollers in your hands. Because every single click feels different, every single menu feels different. Your volume control feels different than your contacts, feels different than your drive modes. So really cool innovation. It looks shockingly simple, but there's elegance in that. We're really happy with how that came out. Yeah.
A lot of these design elements that Andrew's talking about, really tie into like the biggest comment that we get from people walking through the space is, I really love the R1, but it's really expensive, and that's why I pre-ordered an R2. But when you look at an R2, you're not like, that's definitely a cheap version of an R1, and it's so much of it has to do with this really good collaboration between engineering and design, where as cool as that technology is for the air vents, like not only does that get you like this really nice looking line inside of the instrument panel, but now like every one of those air vents in R1 has a motor behind it, has a bunch of little moving parts. Each one of those parts needs to be made, it needs to have a part number, we need to source it, and then each one of those motors like is a point of failure, and something that needs to be installed, something that needs to be calibrated. And so we've cut that down to no moving parts and just a little bit of software. And that means that you get a beautiful looking part that serves the same functionality, and just with good technology, we can cut a bunch of cost out of it without making it seem like we really cheaped out on you, right? And then there's just all this, like even the haptic wheels. Like the reason that the screen can be a lot smaller is because you do so much more of your communication through the dials on the steering wheel. And so instead of having to look down at the screen, like you're saying, the wheels are actually kind of talking back to you, and so you get your feedback much more directly without actually taking your eyes off the road. So it's if anything, it's more engaging and somehow less distracting. And then also comes with the side benefit, being able to cut down the size of that screen. That improves cost. It actually helps to improve cost on the overall assembly of the instrument panel. So there's all of these things being looked at from so many different directions, where we can actually improve design and give you the benefit of lower cost without feeling like it's cheap.
Well, yeah, the same vein. That's so same vein. Like when it comes to like the seat design, you see on R1, there's additional trim pieces like in the seat that divide like the top from the bottom, and then the backs like painted metals, etc. So here, instead of like not just like simplifying and reducing, we're trying to think of it as like a more, more fashion approach, where we're offering different materials versus more parts. So like full fabric wrapped back of the seats, so it seems like it's like, we don't like think of like, oh, we're just making it cheaper, we're just like taking parts out. We're trying to be a little bit wiser and intelligent about that, and like trying to offer new materials. And instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, 5 materials in the seat, now it's just one solid fabric panel. But we're trying to be smart with what material we use, where we use it, so you still have a premium feel inside the vehicle. Second row room is huge in this. It's actually bigger than R1S. So R1S has the third row in the back, so you got to account for all that leg room for the third row. We don't have that. So R2, what we wanted to do was make sure we package full-size suitcases in the back, and then once we get to that packaging point, pull that second row seating the whole way back as far as we could. So you could comfortably fit rearward-facing child seats in the second row here, like really good for family needs, and just like a tremendous amount of space for a vehicle this size in the second row.
And there's so many trade-offs being made with that package that, even some eagle-eyed people that have talked to me today have said, there's actually no bar here with the little fixed piece of glass like you see on the R1S, right? And that is also balanced with even the size of the second row. And again, with just a lot more attention to some of these details, you get actually a cleaner line here on this door that, again, reduces costs. It's just a convenience. For us, it's just really like a win-win, like so many wins, right? And And then even, like I mentioned with some of the newer technology, with being able to build a smaller car, we can actually have a smaller battery. Even though I can see the roof of this one, this is 10 inches lower than the roof of the R1S. You don't really lose much headroom because we actually have a thinner battery underneath this vehicle. So the floor is lower. I have a very, very short wife who does like massive pull-ups every time she gets into the R1. She wouldn't have to do this here. And then I'm tall. I don't bump my head on the ceiling. And so it's actually just really nice on both ends. It's easier to get in and out. And like Andrew said, there's actually more leg room and similar amount of headroom as you have in the R1, even though the car is smaller.
Yeah. Cool. If you want to continue around at the back, you can talk function stuff there too, I guess. If that's,
Yeah. Yeah, I got it. So back here on the lift gate, it's a conventionally opening lift gate, but the big story on it is actually this glass that goes down. And this is one of those cases where this is a feature that is not on R1S, but we're making a very conscious choice to add cost back into it for something like this. And you have sort of the classic case of I want to put a surfboard in here. Someone today told me he wants to put a kayak inside the car, which is incredible. But you don't have to be a surfer. You don't have to be someone who buys lumber all the time to really enjoy this feature. And so if we're going to consciously add something back in, we want it to be good for as many people as possible. A classic example of that to me is the gear tunnel, which you can use. For me, I'm a mountain biker. I like to stage all my stuff there. I like to sit on the convertible door, change my shoes, put all my gear in the tunnel, and then when I'm done, I look and make sure that I took all my stuff out of the tunnel, close the door, and I'm on my way. And for example, do that here as well with this little table. I could set all my stuff on here, and when I have my helmet on, I have my computer. This shelf is empty, and all I do is just press the button, close up the glass, and I know I'm good to go. Or say you're a person who likes to just hang out, tailgate back in your car. You can put your snacks up over here and have like a little bit of a buffet and have a campfire going over here. There's the culinary box that we showed on Instagram. You can be cooking on it. You can have spices. You can have your raw materials up here. So there's just so many use cases beyond just like the couple of obvious ones for like niche markets. We try to make sure that if we're adding features, they're good for as many people as possible. And then with the like Andrew mentioned earlier, it's actually quite a bit of cargo room without the third row of the R1S. It's pretty cavernous in here. There's yet more room underneath the floor. Just some of the EV magic. It's just the water room underneath this car. And then of course the second row folds flat, just like you see on the right side there. And you can load in some really, really long stuff, including yourself if you want to sleep inside of the car. And then, one cool thing is this table also, if you're inside of the car and you like to work way too much like me, then you put your laptop up there and plug it right into the power bank on the side there.
Good luck. Yeah, that's mostly it for storage. We have like these really cool new accessory ports on the lower down here. So you've probably seen some of the animations where you have like bike racks and stuff plugged into this. So there are these universal ports down here, and that's where our new rack system will plug into. We try to keep everything in-house as much as possible to like really control the user experience with our products. Like there's nothing worse than like if someone goes and like buys like some rack on Amazon and it like they have a horrible experience with it and they're like, well, my Rivian sucks because it's like, well, that wasn't really us, right? So we try to like design as much stuff in-house. Very much so like Apple in that sense of like we really want to like contain the ecosystem to products that like we really put a lot of thought and love into, and like stuff that works with our products. It's all designed to work together. So those universal ports, and then like Ken mentioned, there's also like a kitchen we have for the back here. There's you can like put like a storage rack back here, so a lot of people like tow like coolers and stuff behind them on camping trips. So there's a lot of fun options that will come to play when we have those universal ports in the rear. But bike racks for sure. I'm into cycling too, so yeah, that's a big thing for us is how to store bikes.
And we live in Southern California. There's lots of space, lots of big parking lots. Almost like 30% of cars out there have like a hitch rack or something sticking out the back. We're here in Manhattan. Nobody has that because we don't want to parallel park that car. And I know that when I take mine off, I put it in the courtyard of my nice big front yard in my suburban home. I do not have like the third floor walk-up apartment. So, you know, if I take my rack off, because I want to be able to park my car, it's nice with the Rivian rack that goes in these ports. It comes apart in nice small pieces that you can just put right in the car, or you can carry it up to your apartment, no problem, and store very easily without it being a big clutter.
That's the only thing we didn't really touch on, the quarter glass vents open. While we're back here, that's a cool thing. That's something also that RJ was really passionate about. We have like this love of like 80s and 90s cars in the studio, and RJ like loved that with like venting glass, and a lot of it with BMWs and stuff too. So yeah, which is great for like wind buffeting. If you ever like crack a window, you get that horrible buffeting, so you can like vent these windows open, get a little bit more open air in there. Or if you're like camping in the vehicle overnight, you know, get some more air flowing through there without blowing the full window down and whatnot. So like little touches like that sort of make it a more human-centered design. That's something that we're passionate about.
We could talk about these cars forever, but if you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask here. There's a bunch of us walking around Austin. So from this.
Does it have a tow hitch? Can you do a tow hitch for like a small utility trailer?
It will have a tow hitch.
It will?
There will be a tow hitch.
Or at least an option.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for listening.
Thank you guys. Very good.